Camera is recording. The voice is being recorded through microphone. Hey, it's Joseph here. Today I've got a product that Silverstone have sent me. So I wanted to showcase this product and fit into my desktop. The current power supply that I have inside of my desktop is actually SFX unit that is 600 watt. And because my graphics card is kind of beefy 2080 Super that I have, and the recommended power rate for that one is actually 650 watts. And I have noticed a couple of crashes recently, and I don't know if it is due to the power or anything like that, but I just wanted a little bit of peace of mind and also perhaps better longevity as well. This one is SFX-L unit, which is a slightly bigger version than the normal SFX. Not necessarily thicker, but it is actually thin, but just slightly longer. Therefore, it doesn't cause any blockage for the airflow. At the same time, it has much bigger fan, therefore it can cool the unit much more silently. So it makes perfect sense for me to fit this specific unit into my desktop. Therefore, I have requested them to send me a unit to showcase, so that if any of you is utilizing either the same case or similar configuration, you can certainly look to use their product. The specific product that I'll be using today is from Silverstone, and then it is SFX-L form factor, and it is 700 watts, and the specific model name is SFX-700W PT, and it is a 80 plus platinum rated. So it's gonna provide all the power that I need for my specific setup. It does explain the specification and what sort of cabling it has, and I'm not expecting anything out of ordinary, but this is fully modular power supplies, so I can leave some of the connectors out if I don't need them. And on the back, it explains about the layout and the fancy numbers and whatnot, which I don't really understand. So let me move on to just opening the box. Okay, so we are greeted with some paperwork, manual, and what is this one? Some more explanation of what the power supply does. So let's put that aside. And then foam protection. And inside here, there is a power supply and a bunch of cables to have the modular connection. So let's get this one out. Sharp edges, I want to avoid scratching my desk. And then there's also the power supply screws. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the box content. So here it says, attention, the PSU fan will not spin during operation until certain load or temperature is reached. So this is exactly the reason why I'm going for this specific unit, that I can maintain much lower noise level. And because the fan is actually bigger, therefore they just don't have to spin as fast as they would if they were smaller, therefore much lesser noise. And you can imagine it'll be more of a lower hum than really high pitch. And still, this is SFX-L unit, therefore it is much smaller than other ATX power supplies that are out there. It's really cool that they are able to pack 700 watt into this small unit. But yeah, there is the big fan that I spoke about, and also all the modular connection that is available. And I suppose I can undo these plastic pieces for me to make them available. So let's also take out my desktop so I can install this. My computer is actually suspended off of this desk, therefore I had to disconnect and get it out here. It is actually having a little bit of dust and also on the sides and the dust filter. So let me just kind of clean up a bit. Don't worry. It's good to do maintenance every now and then to kind of de-dust your machine, because they do collect quite a lot of dust. Let me undo these screws and it will reveal what's inside. I think you can see better, right? So there is the power supply, which I'm about to take out and then replace with the new unit of 700 watts. And there's quite a lot of cable management to be done, because if you look at onto the other side, there's quite a lot of cables that are coming from power supply that needs to be redistributed onto where it needs to go. And if you actually had seen my previous video, you probably have noticed that this hard drive is a new addition. I have installed it to have a bit more permanent storage for my computer. So that means the wiring is going to be a little bit more trickier, but it's already been done. Therefore, it shouldn't be much of a trouble getting it. It just means I gotta do it. So I just kind of forgot to mention, but the reason for going SFX power supply on this case that is capable of taking ATX power supply is because of the little room between the graphics card and power supply. And if it was ATX power supply, that's going to be really little gap, and the GPU is going to kind of suffocate if you're running a high-end graphics card. Therefore, having a thinner power supply such as this unit here will allow more breathing room for this specific case. And I think that is a great reason for having sort of smaller power supply, and it is also efficient. I had to take out the graphics card because I had very little room to work with. So let me just put this aside. And in order for me to fit SFX power supply onto a ATX case, I had to use this Silverstone brackets. So I'll be using this again. And is it just me, or these power cables are always so pain in the fingers to get rid of? Especially the 24-pin connectors, they're just really impossible to disconnect. Okay, the previous unit is out. So in comparison, the thickness is exactly the same as they're coming as a standard size, height of it too, but the difference is actually from the length. Therefore, it has much bigger fan size. Therefore, it's gonna provide much better airflow since it is still thin, but at the same time, the fan is much bigger and silent. So let's just put this aside. So let me undo the original power cables that's routed in here and then fit the new ones. And then the big 24-pin connector that always refuses to connect easily. I always try to gently pry with a tool so that I can save my fingertips. Okay, so all the original cables are out. I just gotta connect the new ones. It is actually highlighted as blue, so I suppose the blue one goes in there. And I suppose it has 8-pin on both sides, so I just need to connect one and then should be done with it, I think. And my graphics card is 8-pin plus 6-pin, so I just need to connect the 6-pin on the other one. So first, let's have this mounted onto the bracket. And in this case, I want the power supply to draw the fresh air from the bottom of the case and then exhaust towards the back on its own. Therefore, I'm gonna mount it so that the fan is facing downward. Therefore, the bracket is going to be like this. So on the back, I want it to mount something like this and put it into the case. And let me go ahead and clean up this bundle back here so that it clears up for the airflow. So they're just kind of tied down back there so that it doesn't interfere with the airflow as much. Time to mount the graphics card. Okay, so that's all sort of tied down over here, and then properly configured on this side as well. Okay, so I have connected everything, closed the back panel up. The power supply is slightly longer than what it was before, but it is now 700 watt, and I have much better longevity and capacity in terms of taking on the new cards, the 30 series as well. And then I can maintain this sort of gap between the graphics card and power supply, and power supply fan is probably not going to spin most of the time, given that I'm not pushing the machine as hard all the time. Also, even if it spins, it's going to produce much less noise as the fan is much bigger, therefore more silent fan, as I have explained before. So all in all, I think everything turned out really great. The process was Pretty straightforward. If you have enjoyed this content and found it useful, please like and subscribe to my channel for contents like this. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time. Bye.